Hang on to your bowler hats, ladies and gentlemen. These girls are breaking boundaries and busting bad guys. Here is my book review for The Bachelor Girls Guide to Murder by Rachel McMillan. Welcome back, everybody. Today is my book review for The Bachelor Girls Guide to Murder. As I announced in previous videos for this month, I had a bit of a Sherlock theme going on to go along with the blog tour that I am a part of through Litfuse. I was approached and invited by Litfuse to become one of their blog tour bloggers, and I was very excited to do so. I was sent The Bachelor Girls Guide to Murder by Rachel McMillan by the publishers through Litfuse for a free and honest review. All thoughts and opinions in this video are 100% my own. And it's time to lose the bowler because I'm starting to get a headache, so downside. For The Bachelor Girls Guide to Murder, I gave it a 4-star rating because I really enjoyed it. This is a 2 thumbs up book review. In this first book of the Herringford and Watts book series, Marindo Herringford and Gemma Watts are on their way to becoming the first female consulting detectives of 1910 Toronto, Canada. So think gender swap Sherlock meets Murdoch mysteries. As Marindo and Gemma are trying to set up their consulting detectives business, 2 young Irish girls show up dead and the game is afoot. This then launches the girls into a mystery full of danger, flirting with the enemy, sneaking around and finding clues, as well as being in places where no decent lady in society would dream of being, and wearing pants. Which is kind of a no-no for the ladies of Victorian-era Toronto, Ontario. Marindo is on her way to becoming the premier consulting detective of Toronto, and Gemma has a chance to put her bachelor girlhood behind her, if they both can stay alive long enough. With the synopsis, I was super excited to pick up this book before I was even invited to become a Litfuse book blogger. So when I saw it on the list, I made it my first request. Reading the synopsis, I instantly thought of Murdoch Mysteries, which is a very popular show, at least in Canada. I recommend you guys check it out. Most of the seasons are on Netflix, but it is set also in 1910 Toronto, Canada. And I think what I like about it is that it is a Canadian show. When I read the synopsis of this book and found out it also was set in 1910 Toronto, Canada, I was also excited for a Canadian setting in a book. I have 3 books now in total on my shelf that are actually set in Canada. So adding another book to my Canadian list is really exciting. Also, with the author being Canadian and living in Toronto, Canada, you really get to know the city that she loves and the history behind that city. You really feel like you're there, and you feel like you're wandering through the streets with Rachel McMillan, checking out her city. For the review, I thoroughly enjoyed her writing. I really got into it. Like I said, I really felt like I was walking through the streets of Toronto. I really feel like the author has a love for her city. And after reading a couple of author interviews, as well as following her on Twitter and Instagram, you can see that Rachel McMillan does in fact love her city, and you can definitely pick it up in her writing. The writing took off and it was addicting. There was a couple of slow points in the writing, but the description was excellent, the characters are fantastic, and the setting, of course, was just brought to life. The characters themselves were absolutely fantastic. There wasn't a character in this book that I didn't love. Villains, the girls, everybody that they met along the way are just excellently written characters. At first, I wasn't a huge fan of Marindo, but she really started to grow on me as I saw her character develop throughout the book. It almost felt like at first she had that fake Sherlock facade, that she was trying to be Sherlock Holmes and trying to be a pain in the butt and trying to be a pest. But when you actually get to know her, she really was that kind of clueless in some ways to what was going on around her and what society expected of her. But at the same time, you can see really how deeply she did care about the people in her life, even though some of the things she said kind of made you wonder, yeah, that was kind of rude. But that awkwardness kind of just made her really endearing, and you really did get to know her later on as the book developed. Gemma, on the other hand, is a darling, and I related with her a lot. She is a young woman who is brought up right, who is on the right side of society but on the wrong side of her 20s. She is expected to put aside her silliness of chasing Miranda around Toronto and settle down and find a husband. Though in her mind she really does enjoy the adventures that Miranda sets her on, and she loves the intrigue and kind of being outside of that societal norm, she also in the back of her mind has that dream of the house with the white picket fence and the matching dinnerware. So she has that idea of being a little housewife dream tucked behind her, but at the same time is being drawn into this adventure and being torn between the two. Between our two main characters, all of the side characters were absolutely fantastic. Our villain was really good, even though you could kind of tell how this was going to play out. I really wished he was fleshed out a bit more and was a little bit more secretive and a little bit more mysterious, but overall I still really enjoyed him, and I didn't like him, which was what we were supposed to not do. So that was a good character that you loved the hate. The male side characters that Gemma and Miranda work with were also excellently written, and I really enjoyed the one constable that they worked with. He actually reminded me of George Crabtree from Murdoch Mysteries, who's one of my favorite characters on the show, so I really enjoyed him as a character. There's even some side characters that get like 2 sentences worth of spotlight in the book, but they were so well developed that you couldn't help but love them and just really enjoy them. So it was really the characters that kind of brought this book to life and made it so just lovable and enjoyable and full of adventure for me, was just getting to know all of these people in this book. The reason I only gave it a 4-star rating instead of a 5-star rating is that I would have liked more of a mystery aspect to it, but after again reading some of the author interviews, Rachel McMillan did want to start this off as just a historical romance, but was told she needed to juice it up a bit. She then decided to go with a Sherlock mystery theme just to give it a little bit more of that thriller aspect to it and to kind of draw people in. So even though the mystery and the murder solving isn't fully fleshed out for me, it was still really well done, and the drama and the building of the characters and the world was so well done that the mystery kind of flowed along within it. Because it is a Christian fiction book, there was a little bit of a faith aspect, but it wasn't overpowering or a main theme of the book. Gemma was brought up with a faith background, whereas Miranda does not, and finds God and faith and mystery she does not wish to solve. So there is a little bit more of that conscience of right and wrong along with Gemma than there is with Miranda, but maybe they'll develop that further along in the book, but it was there but not there. Gemma does have a very beautiful moment in the book which I thoroughly enjoyed, where she kind of lets go of one of her dreams and just accepts what is happening in her life, and then just finds this joy and peace that goes along with it. And she has this beautiful moment in the book where she just kind of gives that up to God, and he just fills her with this joy and this peace, and it was just such a beautiful moment in the book. But that's about as in-depth as it went with a faith aspect, so it is really nicely in there, not overpowering and not just thrown in there. There's a purpose for it being in there. For the content of the book, I guarantee this a clean read. There was no swearing in the book. There was kissing in the book, but that's about it. There, of course, is murder in the book, so there is a couple of deaths, but even then they are not described in great detail. There's some shooting and violence in the book, but like I said, not in great detail. And any of the romance is kept quite G-rated and very clean, and was really enjoyable just to watch that awkward progression of any romance that was in the book. It was sweet, it was really awkward, which is kind of a little bit more on the realistic side instead of that romantic fictional side. So I really enjoyed the awkward romancy parts of the book because it was really cute and endearing. Another great aspect of this book was the human and female rights in this book. You can tell that Rachel did a lot of research in the history of Toronto at the time, and this was a time where a lot of immigrants was coming to Canada and a lot of immigrants were moving into Toronto. There was a lot of stereotypes that went along with the immigrants, so people had fears that it was bringing down the morality of the city, so there was a lot of negative stereotypes towards the immigrants at this time, and you get that picture painted in the book and the fighting for the rights of those immigrants. So you get that negativity toward the immigrants, but you also get the fighting for the rights of those immigrants. So better wages, better working environments, better living environments and living quarters, and just overall better neighborhoods and general rights for these people, as well as women at the time. Now, Rachel created what was called the Morality Squad in her book, which kind of picked on women, making sure that loose women weren't running around the city, dragging down the morals of the city. Women needed to have a regulation hem on their dress. They needed escorts after a certain amount of time. There was a curfew on them, and all of these other things. And even though the Morality Squad is a fictional aspect of the history of this book, there was still those types of regulations, as this was a time where women were also fighting for the right to vote. So you do have that aspect of women's rights movements and other rights movements throughout the book. It was really great because Miranda and Gemma are breaking boundaries in both of these aspects. They are sneaking around the city in disguises, trying to discover these murders. They are offering free consultations for immigrants and women who are in need of their services that either help them find missing friends, find missing trinkets, or just helping them along the way, and they are offering them free pro bono consultation work in that aspect, so you can tell that they're caring for all of those rights of the women and the immigrants. And I really like how these women are breaking boundaries, but at the same time staying true to themselves and who they are as women, and that being a woman is being celebrated, but also the rights that are basic human rights are being fought for at the same time, without being an overpowering theme of the book and without losing the heart of the book as well. So I really liked that human rights and women's rights kind of movement theme throughout the book. With all of those aspects, I'm really looking forward to the second book. I believe it's coming out either later this summer or in closer to the fall. For the first novella, A Singular and Whimsical Problem, it is posted as a prequel novella, and in some cases it is a prequel novella, but you can read it before the book without being spoiled. But there are some cases in the first book that happens that makes more sense for the novella. So the novella kind of happens in between the beginning and the end of this first book. So you can read it beforehand without being spoiled for the ending of this book, and you can read this book and still get an understanding of the prequel novella. The next novella in the series, Of Dubious and Questionable Memory, is out June 1st, I believe it is. I will leave a link for the pre-order right now in the description below. You can pre-order that for Kindle. It is an ebook novella, of course. I'm not 100% sure on the date, but I'll leave that in the description below for you guys to check out. Highly recommend picking up all three of these books if you guys have not done so already. They are very excellent. Also in the description below, I will be leaving the giveaway link as well, and I just read that it is only open to US citizens only, which is kind of ironic because it's a Canadian book by a Canadian author, but unfortunately the giveaway only asked for United States. It didn't have an option for Canada when I tried to enter and check it out. So it is open to US residents only. So my US followers, you guys can check that out and enter to win. There's a magnifying glass necklace, a bowler hat I believe, and a copy of the book, along with a few other bookish goodies I may be forgetting. So you guys can check that out. The contest ends at the end of April. Also, on April 28th, there is a Facebook group party that you guys can check out. I'll leave that link in the description below as well. And also the author's Twitter and Goodreads page you guys can check out and say hello to Rachel. I was really thrilled to see that when I tweeted my videos and any photos on Instagram that Rachel liked them, and not only did she like them, she retweeted them. So it's really exciting. That's what I love about Twitter, is that you really can connect with your authors of the books. So I was really excited to see Rachel retweeting my tweets. There's just something really exciting about watching an author get involved with her book reviewers as well. So thanks, Rachel. I really enjoyed that. So I hope you guys liked my review of The Bachelor Girls Guide to Murder. It was a fun read. It was an anticipated read, which did not disappoint. I'm really excited to see where the rest of the series goes. I believe this is Rachel McMillan's debut series. So let's give a debut author some love. Go check out A Bachelor Girls Guide to Murder, as well as A Singular and Whimsical Problem, out on Kindle. I think it's $1.99 right now, so you guys can check that out. And of course, order yourself a copy of The Bachelor Girls Guide to Murder. or enter to win. There's a giveaway down below. So don't forget to subscribe, follow me on all that social media jazz. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads. You can read all my reviews on there. Also stay tuned, I might have another blog tour announcement coming. Quite possibly. So stay tuned for that. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!